Imagine a world where your social media feed isn't filled with cat videos and memes, but with state-approved slogans and 5-year plan updates. A world where the internet isn't a free-flowing global network, but a tool of ideological control. This isn't dystopian fiction. What if, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union had beaten the United States to inventing the internet? Let's rewind to the 1960s, where this story begins. In our timeline, the internet emerged from American military research, ARPANET, a decentralized system designed to survive nuclear war. But in the USSR, a lesser-known project called OGS was brewing. Proposed by cyberneticist Viktor Glushkov, OGS aimed to create a nationwide computer network to manage the Soviet economy. Centralized, efficient, and controlled. Here's the twist. Stalin's successor, Nikita Khrushchev, initially supported cybernetics, but Soviet bureaucrats later feared losing power to machines. They defunded OGS, dooming it to obscurity. But what if the Politburo had fully backed Glushkov's vision? First, a Soviet-led internet would have been unrecognizable to us. OGS wasn't about sharing ideas. It was about surveillance and central planning. Every factory, farm, and office would feed data into Moscow, creating a real-time command economy. Efficiency might have skyrocketed, propping up the USSR's stagnating growth. But this system would have prioritized control over innovation. Imagine a 1980s where Soviet citizens access the People's Network to report quotas or read Pravda articles. While Westerners rely on clunky fax machines, the digital revolution begins. But only behind the Iron Curtain. Second, the Cold War's ideological battle shifts to cyberspace. A Soviet internet wouldn't stay confined to the Eastern Bloc. To spread socialism, Moscow exports its system to allies, Cuba, Vietnam, East Germany. Meanwhile, the US scrambles to counter with its own network, but without Soviet pressure, ARPANET develops slower. By the 1990s, instead of a unified World Wide Web, 2 separate internets exist, a closed, state-run East and an open, chaotic West. Global communication fractures, diplomatic crises erupt as hackers weaponize code, decades before cyber warfare enters vocabulary. Third, the ripple effects redefine modern life. If the USSR collapses on schedule in 1991, who inherits its internet? A fractured Russia might cling to the system, creating a splintered network of authoritarian regimes using Soviet-era tech. China, observing this model, could adopt and refine it earlier, accelerating the Great Firewall. Meanwhile, Silicon Valley never emerges as a tech hub. Without open-source culture, social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter don't exist. Instead, imagine state-approved apps where dissent is algorithmically erased. The Arab Spring, cancelled. TikTok dances, replaced by synchronized propaganda reels. But there's a darker twist. A Soviet internet might have prolonged the Cold War. With a stronger economy, the USSR avoids collapse, maintaining a bipolar world into the 2000s. NATO and the Warsaw Pact now clash in cyber attacks instead of proxy wars. The space race becomes the code race, and you watching this, might need a Politburo license just to post a comment below. Of course, this alternate timeline isn't all doom. A Soviet internet could have accelerated computer science globally, pushing the West to innovate faster. Maybe we'd have AI by the 2000s or quantum computing today, but at what cost? The internet's greatest strength, its freedom, would have been its greatest weakness in Soviet hands. So the next time you scroll through your phone, remember, the internet wasn't inevitable. It's a product of the society that built it, and in another world that society wore red stars, not cowboy hats. What do you think? Would a Soviet internet unite humanity, or divide it further?
This is Bytes of Goats, where we don't just talk about history, we learn from it. See you in the next one.